Now, knowing you, I know that you're aware of the things that people are saying. You're moving up in two-weight classes. You're the smaller man. Whatever you do, Terence Crawford, don't exchange against them. What do you feel you have to do?
Be myself. I'm 41-0 for a reason.
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career.
For more than 2 decades, people swore Floyd's 50-0 record was untouchable. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a ghost in the ring, a defensive sorcerer who turned legends into shadows of themselves. But then came one unforgettable night, one thunderous declaration from the only man who had stood across from them both. And suddenly, the unshakable empire trembled. The question was no longer who stood taller, but whether Mayweather's entire reign had just been swallowed by a new era. The spark ignited the moment Terence Crawford's hand rose in victory over Canelo Alvarez after a masterclass that shattered the unthinkable.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight.
But the real jolt came not inside the ring, but later, at the post-fight press conference. The air was heavy, every camera locked in, every microphone stretched forward, waiting. And when the question landed, how does Crawford compare to his old rival Floyd Mayweather? Canelo didn't flinch. No pause, no second thought. With the world's media hanging on the edge of silence, he laid it out, plain and unshaken.
If you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence Bud Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Coming from the only man alive to have shared the ring with both, this wasn't just an opinion. It was a bomb dropped in the heart of boxing. That single line ripped through the sport, sparking a fire that had quietly burned for years, now roaring to life. And it didn't take long before a powerful voice was pulled into the storm. Stephen A. Smith, watching from the sidelines, was locked in instantly. Like so many, he expected Crawford to rely on finesse, circling outside, outboxing the bigger, stronger foe. But what unfolded was something no one had scripted.
Well, I appreciate Crawford making my prediction come through. Coming into the fight, I had him winning by decision. I thought he was the superior boxer. I thought he would be able to take a punch. And as long as he didn't stay there and exchange with Canelo, I thought he could do it. What surprised me is that there were times during the fight, he did stand there and exchange with Canelo and took it. Took some body shots to the liver, took some headshots, exchanged, and still ended up winning this fight. I thought from the 8th round on, he just put on a boxing clinic. I gotta give credit where credit is due. Crawford deserved to win the fight.
Smith watched in disbelief as Crawford didn't just endure. He walked straight into the fire, trading punches with Canelo to prove he carried more than skill. He carried grit. In Smith's own words, "What I didn't expect was for him to stand in there and exchange and survive." Yet survive he did, again and again. That's why, Smith argued, Crawford deserved every ounce of praise. He even broke down the bout, scoring it 5-4 in Crawford's favor after 9 rounds, before Crawford unleashed a masterclass in the final 3, sealing them with authority. He absorbed Canelo's power, fired back, and thrived in moments where a smaller man should have broken.
Crawford's a special fighter because he's got a mean streak. He doesn't back up from anything. He's usually the superior boxer in the ring. He finds a way to win. No matter who he's going up against, no matter what power you have, what boxing skills you have, he is truly a generational kind of fighter. He wants to go in the ring and not just beat you, but show you he was a better man. And he's not one who believes that just a knockout does that. He likes outboxing you and showing you that his skill level is superior to yours. And he showed it tonight.
Stephen A. hailed it as a masterclass. Yet even as he marveled at the brilliance before him, he stopped short of crowning a new king. Because etched in his memory was another kind of master, a phantom who glided through the ropes, untouchable, untamed. And no matter how much grit Crawford showed, Stephen A. reminded the world he was still not that ghost.
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career with one hand. He constantly broke his hand.
Yeah.
He would go into a ring knowing he had no shot at knocking somebody out because his hands were hurt too much. And literally walked in the ring and said, I'm gonna embarrass you and humiliate you by showing the world you can't hit me.
This is where Stephen A. Smith drew the line, a sharp distinction that flipped the whole debate on its head. He reminded the world that Floyd Mayweather was never just another fighter. He was a defensive enigma, a magician obsessed with one thing: winning without being touched. His hands, fragile and battered through the latter half of his career, stripped him of reliable knockout power. That wasn't speculation. It was fact, a well-documented truth etched into boxing history.
Floyd Mayweather looks me in my face and he says, I'm gonna take him out about the 8th or 9th round. And I said, your hand's always broken. You ain't known for your punching power since you moved up from lightweight to welterweight. Why are you so sure you're gonna do this? He said, Stephen A., he's a UFC fighter. He said, and he's a striker. He's accustomed to coming at you and throwing punches. What he's not accustomed to doing is punching while he's throwing backwards, while he's moving backwards and pushing you off of him. He says, I'm gonna walk right into him and stay in his chest. He's gonna have to push me off in order to throw his punches. He said he's gonna be circling the ring. He said by around 4 or 5, he's not gonna have any legs. He's gonna be done. And he said, and I'll just toy with him and keep him around until around the 8th or the 9th round. And that is exactly what Floyd Money Mayweather did. He told me exactly what he was gonna do, and he did it.
Mayweather himself confessed that his hands were brittle, so fragile that before the Conor McGregor fight, he couldn't even spar for an entire month, forced to protect what had become both his weapon and his weakness.
You hurt your hand? Huh? I thought you hurt your hand. That's myself. Okay. All right. Relax, baby. The job is done. All right. Put in a bucket of ice, man. Yeah. I'll get a bucket of ice. Kill him.
I'm saying Shane hit me with a hell of a shot. Okay. Actually, 2 shots.
Oh, okay.
But even in that particular round, what I said to Shane was this. I was like,
you dead self said something to him when you grabbed him.
I said, you gotta kill me.
Oh shit. I wasn't ready, bro.
I said that was a good one. And I said that was a good one, but you gotta kill me.
Wow.
So you gotta kill me. And did I mean I'm not gonna lie, I meant it.
To add an even sharper edge of controversy, whispers have long swirled that in the back half of his career, Mayweather chose to fight almost exclusively in Las Vegas, one of the rare places that permitted numbing injections like xylocaine to dull the agony in his hands. It hinted that his fragile fists weren't just a weakness, but a driving force in when, where, and how he fought. And yet, despite it all, he turned himself into something greater, untouchable.
Rocky Marciano was 49-0. Before Floyd got to 50-0, he was a heavyweight champ. Did anyone ever consider Rocky Marciano the GOAT? No, not seriously, no. Why would Floyd be considered the GOAT? Because he beat more fighters than Rocky did, more great ones? That's true. But really, Floyd was careful in the way he selected opponents. Don't get that twist. It's not that Floyd didn't fight a lot of great fighters. He did. It's not that I don't think he would have beaten a lot of the tougher fighters that he fought. I think he probably would have, but he didn't do it. He waited. He waited till Pacquiao wasn't at his best anymore. He didn't fight Margarito when Margarito was tearing everyone up. He waited for the right time to fight people. He got paid twice as much for fighting Pacquiao in a less dangerous fight than he would have had he fought him when everyone wanted to see him fight. Floyd is among the all-time greats, but he ain't number one.
Trainer Greg Hackett echoed this very view. insisting that the version of Floyd who dismantled Canelo was the picture of completeness, a polished fighter with an unshakable style carved to perfection. In contrast, he painted Crawford's approach as raw, even Wilder-like, a storm of grit and chaos against Floyd's cold, calculated precision.
I can't say he capping. I can't, because I don't know what he felt. But when I heard that, what I think is, when Floyd beat me, I was 23, I wasn't polished. When Bud beat me, I was the man. I was the man. And he beat me fair and square. He beat me at my game and he beat me at his game. That's why Canelo said that. Do I believe that? It's tough to believe. But I can only take Canelo's word because he's the man that's been in the ring with both of them. But I understand why he said it. I was a kid when I fought Floyd. He wasn't a kid literally, but he was young. He was young. There was a lot he didn't know. There was a lot he didn't understand about boxing that he later on learned and got better. But Bud beat the better version of me, even though it's the ran down version. I'm saying that because it is some wear and tear there with Canelo. I've been saying it the whole time. When a guy got almost 70 fights in current time, with all those big camps he's been doing and all that, trust me, it's some wear and tear there. I'm not making excuses for Canelo. I'm just saying.
I don't know. That's what it gives it that air.
I also think you got to remember when you talking about a Mexican fighter, they big on punishment. He might also feel Crawford punches harder than Floyd and took more chances than Floyd took. Floyd really was super speed that night. Like, everything speed, and it irritated Canelo because Canelo couldn't do what he wanted to do, and he looked nothing like himself. Like I said, I think it was just times where Canelo felt like, damn, I could have had him. With Floyd, I think he felt like paralyzed. Like, damn, I can't catch this motherfucker. He too fast. But with Crawford, I felt like he maybe was saying, damn, I could have, if I would have threw this, or if I would have did that. You know what I mean? Because it was times Crawford sat there and caught a punch and countered back. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He let Canelo throw, like, go ahead, throw your shit. He caught that shit, boom, and come right back with the hook. The same shot he caught Earl with. He was touching Canelo with some of that same shit, man. And it was just like, and it was times where Crawford was imposing himself on Canelo. He was stepping to Canelo at times. He didn't do it the whole fight, but I'm just saying it was times he stepped to him. Floyd did too, but Floyd just was so fast, so much faster, and the education was like totally different. Like when Canelo fought Floyd, Canelo was in middle school. He wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Floyd by that time was already a Harvard graduate. You know what I'm saying? So
in Stephen A's own words,
I can't say that. I think that Floyd Mayweather was such a magician defensively. And we have to look at Floyd Money Mayweather in this regard. Once he moved up to welterweight, his hands were always damaged. So he kind of knew he wasn't going to be able to knock you out for the most part. And still, he walked into the ring and put on masterful performances because he was so superior skill-wise and defensively. You can't say enough. Tonight with Crawford, for example, we saw him take a punch on several occasions. With Floyd, we didn't see that too often because you couldn't hit him. That's the difference.
Crawford, by contrast, absorbed blows from Canelo. He showed his chin, his grit, and his toughness. Yet in Stephen A's eyes, the very need to prove it was exactly what set him apart from Floyd. Before the argument could spiral further, many pointed to a simpler truth. These two fighters were born of different times. This wasn't just a matter of skill. It was a clash of eras. Terence Crawford himself admitted it with respect, declaring, "Floyd is the best fighter in his era, and I feel like I'm the best fighter in my era."
I want him.
And it's not just the title, it's what else?
It's everything. He got everything. And I'm coming to get it.
When you beat him, you'll have everything?
That's right.
This perspective adds an essential layer of nuance, showing that greatness isn't a straight road, but a crown tied to the era a fighter commands. And then comes the age factor, making the picture even murkier. Floyd's own uncle, Jeff Mayweather, reminded everyone that Floyd was already 36 past his prime when he stood against a young Canelo. a detail that makes lining him up beside a peak Crawford battling a seasoned Canelo nearly impossible.
Well, also if we remember, Canelo at that time was a razor-thin decision. Floyd won, majority decision. C.J. Ross had it with what a lot of people had as a draw. And then the other two judges scored it for Floyd, of course. And that was a Floyd at the top of his game with a very green Canelo with very little experience, and he still took him, into deep waters. So.
Yeah. What was Canelo? What? 20-something? 20 what? 23? 25?
Yeah, he was. Very, very young in the game, obviously.
Yeah, very young. He had more fights than Floyd, and he lost.
Yeah, but
man, that was 30-something years old, 36.
But Floyd was clearly at the top of his career, and Canelo had fought a lot of people. But
how you at the top of your career in your prime? You ain't in your prime when you're at 36.
It shapes the debate not as a battle of who stands taller head-to-head, but as two kings reigning over entirely different chapters in the story of boxing history.
We've had a lot of comparisons between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We've even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in the fight between Terence and Floyd. And I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who would win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd would win that
yes,
fight.
Sir. I love you, Terence.
Always figures it out.
Yeah,
yes. he's a chess master.
Yeah, his IQ in
but
that
the funny thing about it is Terence has been the only other guy that people can say he always figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
But you gotta have an OG somewhere.
Anybody else? Yeah.
There's an OG
Somebody
somewhere.
got a pioneer, right? Yeah, you got it.
There's an OG you can't out-figure out somewhere. And I just believe Floyd is that OG you can't out-figure out.
The debate about their primes and defensive styles may twist in countless directions, but one truth stands untouchable. Terence Crawford carries a staggering milestone on his record, an achievement Floyd Mayweather never even came close to reaching.
In accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
By conquering Canelo, he etched his name as the first male boxer in history to seize undisputed crowns in 3 separate weight divisions. The victory was so colossal that one of modern boxing's most powerful figures, Turki Alalshikh, instantly hailed Crawford as the fighter of the century. To put it in perspective, while Mayweather captured titles in an astounding 5 divisions, he was never the undisputed ruler, never the man holding all 4 belts in a single class. Crawford, meanwhile, gathered every last strap across 3. It's a contrast that screams volumes about legacy. This wasn't fortune, it was precision, forged in a camp built on relentless strength training, with his team sharpening his body to absorb and answer everything Canelo could unleash. That triumph etched Crawford's story in boxing's stone, proof he conquered whole divisions in ways even Money Mayweather could not. But their divide ran deeper than belts. It was about the roads they carved. Floyd wasn't only a fighter, he was the CEO of his own empire. As Max Kellerman observed, once Floyd rose from lightweight, his journey became a masterclass in calculation. He picked the opponents, dictated the timing, and managed the business, making sure every gamble carried the safest reward.
It's wild, because if you look at Floyd's resume, it's much deeper than Crawford's. And Floyd was faster and he had a better defense and all that stuff. But Floyd picked and chose when he fought guys, especially once he left lightweight. He wiped out the junior lights, bring him. Lightweight, he jumps up to Jose Luis Castillo first thing. A lot of people think he lost the first fight, I didn't, but then he won the rematch. But once he left lightweight, he was careful about when he fought guys. So even though his resume is deeper with names, people remember, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times.
This strategy, though brilliant, has faced heavy fire from the new generation. Rising superstar Ryan Garcia unleashed a stunning claim, arguing that Mayweather perfected the art of knowing exactly when to fight someone and when to dodge them. He accused Floyd of reshaping the sport for the worse. sidestepping opponents in their absolute prime.
Y'all talking about this kid Ryan Garcia. Tank got his followers from kicking ass. Ryan Garcia got his followers from YouTubers. There's a difference. So you want to be a YouTuber or you want to be a fighter? Tank is a fighter.
How did Gervonta know that my rib got separated while I was in the fight? Or before the fight? How do you think they got the information? You got to pay. Who do you think told me that they paid? So I know how much money it takes to betray Ryan Garcia. I know a little glimpse.
Crawford, by contrast, has stormed through boxing like a force of nature, fearless in proving his dominance against anyone willing to stand across from him. In a prime versus prime clash, the physical tale is undeniable. He stands an inch taller, but more importantly, carries a 3-inch reach advantage, a weapon in a technical fight that even a peak Mayweather might have struggled to neutralize. His resume runs deep, yet it's no accident. For years, fans and critics alike watched him call out the biggest names, ready to face anyone, anytime, to cement his rule. And beyond his fearless mindset, experts and former champions underline those natural edges. As boxing great Shane Mosley put it,
I think Crawford is better. It would have been a tough fight, but I think Crawford would have the edge over Mayweather because of the long arms and because it's bigger. But Mayweather's definitely technician. I mean, like Crawford said, Mayweather has his era, and Crawford, this is his era.
While Mayweather was the architect, constructing a flawless, impenetrable fortress, Crawford became the conqueror, storming into any land and claiming it with force. Yet despite Crawford's historic ascent, a loud chorus of skeptics in the boxing world refuses to even entertain the comparison. To them, the only resemblance lies in race, that both are great black fighters, but stylistically, they exist in different galaxies. One analyst cut through with brutal bluntness. Terence Crawford is not Floyd Mayweather. They're just both black. That's the only similarity they have. These critics insist Crawford thrives in the chaos. He takes shots, taunts with his tongue out, drops his hands, and brawls in the pocket. Mayweather's creed was the polar opposite. Razor sharp, lightning quick, armed with a defensive genius many consider the best ever. To such voices, these comparisons aren't truth, but hype. An invention fueled by fans hungry to crown Floyd's heir. And if the in-ring storm wasn't enough, the Crawford-Canelo super fight carried its own shadows of drama. Long before the opening bell, whispers of scandal echoed. Judges were the same ones tied to Manny Pacquiao's infamous draw, sparking fears their scoring would tilt toward Canelo. The storm only deepened in the world of high-stakes betting when streamer Aiden Ross was engulfed in accusations. Ross, who had wagered $1 million on Canelo, was accused of insider trading after a mysterious phone call supposedly made him switch his bet to Crawford at the very last second.
Jordan, we're switching the bat.
Huh?
We're definitely switching our bat.
Oh what? What you mean?
No,
Don't stay with Canelo.
We're going Crawford.
He's saying that.
Fueling conspiracy theories and adding yet another layer of intrigue to Crawford's historic triumph. So where does that leave us? The echoes of greatness are never simple. On one side stands Floyd Mayweather, the unbeaten defensive genius, the strategist who built not only a flawless career, but an empire of wealth. On the other stands Terence Crawford, the fearless, adaptable warrior who became the first to rule 3 divisions outright, crushing every challenger with relentless fire. Stephen A. Smith's warning wasn't just about a fight. It was about how we even define greatness. Is it the untouchable artist who never showed a crack? Or the relentless conqueror who walked through fire and seized it all? Maybe the truth lies not in their records, but in how each man stretched the limits of what we thought was possible inside the ring. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss what's next. And drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.